Hi, everybody. Um, I've been sitting here for quite some time trying to think about how to approach the subject of this war and how to talk about it. And there's no way to make good news out of war. There just isn't. And and I thought I originally wanted to make a video telling you about the new class I'm going to teach on light, love, and law. And I thought, well, there's a war, but maybe somehow it is the age of the unthinkable, as I have said so many times. And when I look at the war, I think about how many people have how many Ukrainians were saying that it was unthinkable that Putin would invade Ukraine, as they saw for weeks his amassing his forces at their border. They still told themselves it was unthinkable that he would invade their country. As I watched from my little home here, I thought, no, it's not. Of course he's going to do that. Of course he's going to do that. It never occurred to me that he wouldn't invade. But maybe if I lived there, I would hope he wouldn't invade. But from where I sat, it never occurred to me that he would not. And then he put his nuclear weapons on alert, on ready. And of course, we have not experienced nuclear war, but we have nuclear weapons. And now we have a maniac threatening to use them, hoping he can find an excuse to use them, baiting the NATO nations to just do something so he can release them. Don't think he doesn't want to, because he does. This is the age of the unthinkable, the unthinkable. And of course, we have gotten so accustomed to thinking such a thing is not possible that it's hard for us to comprehend that such a thing is possible. But we never thought a pandemic was possible, and it was. And we made a big deal out of wearing masks. Where do you see what you'll have to wear if the whole global village is nuked? That mask is going to feel like nothing, because it won't help you then, won't help any of us then. It is the age of the unthinkable. It's like the shadow way of learning that we're all one, and we just simply don't get it. We simply don't get it. That we are all one breathing, living life mechanism. Humanity is all one. What happens to one happens to all. That was the message of Jesus. That was the message of Buddha. That was the message of mystical teachings. And somehow or other, maybe this is the moment where we really have to live and learn that truth, that we are all in this together. The other side of that mystical truth, the side that, oftentimes I have heard, and I'm hearing it again, as um, this war wages on, how could God allow this to happen? Once again, it's God. I don't think people get that we are the engines of the events that are created on this earth. I've tried to teach that for years, not that my teaching makes any kind of impact on anything, but that is one of the greatest truths you can absorb, that you are part of the engine of what gets created in the external, that none of these events happen on their own, that we are all co-creators, not just of the events in our personal life, but what is in the micro is contributed to the macro. That is a fundamental theme that I will illustrate in my next class on light, law, and love, the three forces that you use that are the life force itself, light, the laws of the universe, and the nature of love, not personal love, but this cosmic force that is God in disguise. And that these are the weapons of mass construction instead of destruction. And that if you understand how to use your light, how that influences the laws, and what the power of cosmic love is, a different future can be created. A very different future can be created. And if you don't think that one person can make a difference, one person started this, essentially, Putin, and one person can stop this, essentially, Putin. Everything else is the domino effect of one madman who admittedly had help from another madman who's, thank God, not in office. But this masterpiece of destruction is threatening to get worse by the minute. And so we could ask ourselves, what can we do? Well, the power you have is immense as an individual. The power you have is immense. And I'll speak to you about the grace of endurance. What we are witnessing in Ukraine, and then in the supportive networks of Poland, Moldova, Romania, the nations that are absorbing, Hungary, all of the refugees, is a phenomenal outpouring of endurance. What can they endure? What can children endure? Mothers, people who are breaking their families apart to survive. Husbands who are releasing their families to safety, and wives thinking, will I ever see my husband again? The heartache we're witnessing. What is it we're willing to endure? On our side, the price of gas going up, big deal. Someone said to me, well, I can't, I've got to heat my home. Everybody's got to heat their home. We're all in this together. We're all in this. This is a world crisis. The pandemic was a world crisis. What we have to get through our heads now is that we are members of a world society, a global society. We cannot, if these crises do not shift our thinking now into what was introduced through holistic health, that this is a holistic entity, a holistic living field in which we dwell, that country borders mean nothing, that if we're nuked, we're all nuked, that if we get a pandemic, we're all ill, that there is an allness now that we have to think. We can't think, well, I live in this country, so that conflict doesn't come here. If a part of humanity is threatened with complete destruction, that destruction is somehow going to influence the quality of everybody's life. This represents symbolically democracy. It represents a fight for life and the possibility of nuclear war. That involves all of us. And to that extent, however we contribute our strength and our determination to say, well, if I can't use as much fuel in my home, well then so be it. So be it. I'll be colder. I'll wear more sweaters for the next few months. We're just a few weeks away from the warmer season. We will endure. It costs another $20 to fill up the car. And so be it. I'll find it from this part of my budget or from that part of my budget. At least we have a home to go to sleep in. At least we go to sleep without bombs falling over our head. And we haven't yet been nuked. Everything we can contribute from our spirit is a contribution to the collective spirit. Every choice we make. The grace of endurance is a grace that says, you know what? What have I have endured on behalf of the whole? What have I actually contributed on behalf of the whole? This is at the level of humanity is suffering. And what can I do to make a difference? What part of my light can help the laws of creation so that the laws of cause and effect and action and reaction are moving in the collective in a way that supports the survival of the whole instead of its destruction. Every single choice you make at the level of cosmic love instead of what serves you, what serves the whole. This is perhaps a different way of thinking, and it requires opening up a collective value system within yourself, a collective part of your heart, a part of your heart that maybe you've thought about and visited, but haven't really needed until now. We need this part of our collective heart to beat together, to feel together, to survive together. We have to survive together, because if this turns into a war that spreads throughout Europe, into the NATO countries, into a nuclear holocaust, it's all of our wars. It's all of our earth. It's all of us. It's all of us. So the battle taking place there, it's as if good and evil have finally reached the place of combat in the physical world. In the physical world. In the class that I'm going to teach in April, I really want to explore with you the power of your light, the power of light, the mystical understanding of the nature of God as light, as the order of law, that God is law, that everything in the universe is organized through law, and that love is the vibration through which we know the nature of God in its highest form. That's our tactile communication with God. That's how we know what God feels like, is when we reach love. That's why we're so careful with love, because we know how powerful it is. We know exactly how powerful it is. And so we're very careful with it. We're very, very, very careful with it. We love carefully. And we know how powerful and transformational love is. You know, someone over breakfast this morning said to me, you know, even Putin's mother must have loved him. You know, he must know something about love. And I said, you know what? Think of love like water. Think of it as water. And if you were starved for water, you would know how valuable it is. You would know it is the most precious thing you need to survive. And so you would either become very generous with water or very greedy and hoard it. And you would use it in small doses because you would know that if I give someone a drink of water, it would revive them. Even the slightest amount of water would revive them. And so you become someone who hoards it because you know how powerful it is. Think of love like that. So there are people who understand the power of love like water, and that sharing love, sharing water openly nurtures all life. Nurtures all life. All life grows from it. Or like that one child in Maripol. She died from dehydration. We all need water. We all need life, and just the little smallest amount can revive a body that's almost dying of thirst. That is the power of the sacred, the smallest amount. You have no idea how powerful you are. And I keep teaching this and keep trying to find ways to teach it. And I'm hoping that by I feel like I've found the raw ingredients of God: light, law, and love. It doesn't get more basic and more visceral than this. And honestly, in a world where the forces and the challenges can make you feel the most powerless, I'm hoping this will make you feel the most empowered. And in the meantime, let me encourage all of you to pray for the people in Ukraine and in Russia and in the refugees and all those helping them, and for all of us in this world. We are all in this together, all of us. And this is a global crisis of the worst kind. But there's always a way through if we choose that path of light. I deeply believe that. And so we pray, God, hover over us and give us that grace of endurance above all things. Thank you, everybody.